Hey, welcome back, everybody. Grab your chairs, pull out your cigar, drink of choice, because it's time for the RAAD Life. As our resident raconteur, our county storyteller, wanders wherever his intuition takes him, stumbles into the most interesting people, and usually drags them into the studio here. So today, back from his travels around the world, it's the one and only RAAD Gantos. Welcome, sir.
I thought you were going to talk about Pascal. I thought you guys just switched.
It's called
out.
the RAAD Life.
You just switched it out. Like, I was waiting for Pascal's name to appear.
I'm assuming that that's going to get added to it somewhere here, but it does still say the RAAD Life.
Well, you know.
Oh, let's get his mic up.
Yeah, let's get.
He told me not to turn Pascal's mic up this time.
Well, you didn't turn up his mic, and you turned on my headset. Give me a little headset.
Little headset there?
A little headset, please.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah,
More
man.
cowbell? You want more cowbell?
First order of business, thank you so much for hosting. I had fun watching the shows from, undisclosed locations. I'm not going to tell people where I was.
Floating through the Mediterranean on his luxury
Paul, I just
yacht.
finished saying I'm not going to disclose the
exactly,
location.
yeah.
Good Lord, man, you can't
Maybe
keep
he
it
was
secret.
not there. Maybe he was in Riverside.
It could be. Wouldn't that be something?
I was in the Salton Sea.
Floating on
It was hard to swim, but
a
other than
rubber
that, we're
raft.
good.
Right.
No, I was in the Mediterranean for 2 weeks, and it was a godsend. I absolutely enjoyed it. I was there with friends.
How do you say that without sounding obnoxious?
I don't. I don't. I'm sorry. Was there a possibility of that?
Whatever I say is never obnoxious. Just,
No, I think what Paul is saying is whatever comes out of my mouth is always.
You just want to live his life,
Just living.
It's the RAAD life, dude. I mean, there's no false advertising here. It's right there.
This is a truth.
Right?
Yes.
That is the
I
truth.
mean, okay. So I'll just say, first of all, I want to say thank you, Pascal. It was amazing. You guys did a great job. I really enjoyed your interviews, especially the one with Bruno. I was just like, and Bruno, I called in actually just to make sure I needed to referee between the two of them, right? And it was late at night in Turkey, and I'm like, are they just going to be okay? Okay, it was great, and really looking forward to doing more of these with you.
The Hilbert Museum, that was a really cool one with the artist Timothy.
Yeah, but Bruno, it's like we always hate to play each other like on soccer game,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, So we always have a
It was almost for me. It was almost like like the what's that? Chris, help me out here. What's the golf tournament where it's the legends, the legends,
Masters?
right?
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like the Legends WWF culinary thing I was calling in on. Like,
am I supposed to talk yet? I don't know how it works. I was ready to chime in, but
we have a guest.
you said my name.
yes, Chris. I just tagged you in. But it was really great to have you do that. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely interesting to be sitting in the audience seat, kind of when you're not on the show.
Thank you.
But it really was awesome to watch. And regarding like the RAAD Life, well, we've been doing this for people who don't know. We've been doing this for 7 years, and we took a little break, but it became so obnoxious, as Paul put it. Thank you for anything that I'm involved in. That people would just look at me and I'll post like, "Hey, I am here doing whatever it is," and they go, "Yeah, of course it is. It's the RAAD Life.
RAAD Life.
It's the RAAD Life."
That just says it all.
It became sort of an.
All right, let's present our guest.
So please, who did you invite for us today?
Well, we have an icon of the publication in Southern California.
A legend.
Legend.
Oh, I am?
Yes.
Oh, I like
He's
that.
on a
You're
map.
absolutely a
I don't
legend.
even need a name.
Well, so
I'm the
you have to
legend.
come here to get some news,
He's on a
Absolutely.
masthead, so it kind of fits.
So
the
we have-
You're
family.
actually almost an OG. You know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Not a
You are,
goat,
yeah.
not a
No,
goat.
He knows he's an OG.
Pioneer of the media world.
He
I'll take that.
absolutely knows he's an OG.
He's a goat of
Yeah.
media in Orange
Yeah,
County.
don't
for
let
sure.
that smile fool you, man. He knows exactly who he is.
Yes.
So we have Christopher Gialanella.
Ooh, I like the way you said it.
Yes.
My grandmother would be proud.
Oh, good.
Pascal. Gialanella. You didn't move your hand, though. You got to go like this.
Gialanella, hey.
There you go.
And
Well,
we
identify who he is. You just gave
He's
his name.
ready. There's a drum roll.
Get in there.
Paul, leave him alone.
He is one of the
He drags these out.
largest entrepreneur and publication in Southern California.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
And we are lucky because he was born on the East Coast, and he started like his first job in DC actually.
Yeah, you did your homework.
I
Absolutely.
don't know. You were in politics a little bit when you were
Politics.
young,
Yep.
and you got out of it. And
Well, the reason I
maybe-
got out of it is my parents were sick of paying my rent. And said, you need to get a real job. So anyway.
So
And
he's
then, but-
now
so-
he's the publisher and president of Orange Coast
hold on, hold on.
Magazine.
Hold on, Pascal's going to do it.
Oh,
And,
take the rest of the show.
This is a public service announcement. Paul, shush.
who is the fourth wheel?
That's not a fourth wheel.
So, and then you move to New York. Then you start working something that probably put the seed for what you're doing now. And in a large firm, I won't say the name, of marketing and public relation. And I think you learn a lot from that.
How did you
Absolutely.
pick that, Chris? Like, how did you make that? Obviously, your
You
parents
know,
said,
it's-
"Get off the couch." You know, we're
Yeah.
sick and tired of paying. But how did you pick this particular field?
You know, it's funny. I'm always the kind of guy where I wake up in the morning and I see where the day takes me. That's kind of how my career started too. I don't know
That's
how
a
I
pretty
got
good
into this.
That's a pretty good philosophy.
I literally just, after college, I lived in D.C. I worked on the Hill for my local Congressman Gallo, and tried to get a job up on the Hill and couldn't get a job. So my parents said, hey, we're done paying your rent. You got to come back to New Jersey. So I moved back, moved home. It's hard to be a kid who just graduated from college and moving back into your parents' home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, my mom sent out some resumes, got a job in New York City. Within a year, I got transferred to L.A., so worked for the company in L.A., and then I stumbled upon the media world, where actually my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, brought home a copy of a magazine and said, you should call this gentleman who's in there. He was the publisher, Michael Kong, who was the founder of Modern Luxury. Called him, and I said, hey, I hear salespeople get paid commission to sell ads into a magazine. Give me a shot. Let's see what I could do. And you have nothing to lose because you're paying me a commission. He goes, oh, you're right. I have nothing to lose, so let's see what you can do. So that was back in 2000. And I've been doing this ever since.
You start by selling ads.
Selling ads,
I'm
walking
sorry-
up
I'm
and down the
sorry,
street.
I've turned you down many times.
Oh yeah, I've knocked on your door, Pascal, many times too. Yeah. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. And honestly, for me, it's fun because I love talking to people and I love being out in the community. And it really is a very community-related position where you don't want to come across like a used car salesman. You want to come across as someone who has a great product that you should invest in to grow your business.
Yeah, but you have to be good to sell.
Yeah, because okay, so where do you think you got those skill sets? Is it just something that you grew up around? Because most people don't do that.
You know,
and you know that. You've had to hire those
I'm
salespeople.
Italian, but I was always the loudest kid in the room. I always had too much to say. I don't know about you guys, but my dad would wash my mouth out with soap because I was the guy who was talking so much, right? My voice, and I was just always a friendly, affable guy who just loved meeting people. I always loved meeting new people and just talking, and that's
But
kind of how the whole
besides
thing
talking, don't
started.
you wanted maybe to be a writer at first?
Well, I mean, I always wanted to be a writer, an informer, I'd say, So, I do some writing. I do my publisher's columns in the magazine, but I'm more the business guy.
It's one page.
I'm the business guy, but we've got great writers right now at Orange Coast, which obviously is the magazine of Orange County. We're celebrating 50 years in Orange County.
That's very awesome.
And you know how to keep your staff because you have some staff members that have been there for years.
Oh, many. Linda Goldstein's been with us for 43 years.
Yeah.
So Linda started at Orange Coast back in the Ruth Coe days. She was the woman who started it. Or actually, she didn't start it. Bob Guccione started it, but she bought it from Bob. And Linda's been a pioneer in the industry, and we've worked together for many years, even though we were competitors.
Yep.
But now we're reunited, and she's a gem. Then I have Ed and Randy and Richard. And then the best is I have Tina Borgata, who's my editor-in-chief,
She left and came back.
who I brought
Talk
over.
about
So we all kind of reconnect again
yeah.
in the world,
You have Gretchen too?
Yeah, Gretchen's one of our food writers. Yeah, we've got such a great, and Orange Coast is such a staple because food, Pascal, is really what we do best.
Right.
We love restaurants, we love eating, we like talking about it and writing about it. And Orange County, whoever said Orange County isn't known for food? Somebody said that, and it really annoyed me.
Will you think?
Actually, he said that
Did he say it?
it
until-
it was not a food place until he showed up.
Right.
But he didn't
True.
know me at that time.
Yeah, well, you know,
He was here in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you probably served some pretty impressive people back in the
yeah.
day.
Oh, yeah.
Who were
Even
some of the people like,
Still now.
you've served me before.
We still have some impressive people in Orange County. And then...
You and Bruno and Antonio, you guys are the
so maybe
pioneers.
hopefully one day you give me a little quarter page for me to write something, you know.
Sure.
I would love that.
We'd love for you to be a guest writer.
Good.
Absolutely.
A guest?
Okay. Permanent. Maybe.
All right. And so, so you moved in Los Angeles in 1994. So and then you said that really you start liking publishing. What makes you think publishing was special for you?
Yeah. I just always felt like, at the time, LA was going through a lot of transitions, and I really discovered home design was a big category that I would go after early on in the early 2000s. And it was literally some of my dearest friends from this day are a lot of the design community people, the interior designers. And that's kind of how I got my start in putting money in the books, but creating really unique opportunities. It was really through home design and real estate, because LA was big, always big in real estate. And I've always been fascinated by all the architecture and homes and values, and just really how beautiful architecture is in Southern California.
But they can use you for their own marketing as well.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it works both ways.
Well,
Yeah.
you were always creative too, where you happen to be. You guys were always creative in finding innovative ways to highlight both, whether it's the design industry or the real estate industry, or in some cases connecting you with
Hospitality.
culinary or hospitality,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
We did a really cool thing back in 2008 when the economy was going down the
Yeah.
toilet, or did go down the toilet. Friends of mine owned the Casa del Camino in Laguna. God rest his soul, my friend Richard Ham, who passed away last year, and Chris Keller owned this property. It's a historical site. And we decided to create a whole home design. It was called the Casa Surf Project, where we took 10 rooms, partnered them with surf companies, because that's really the background of Orange County, with all these surf brands like Quicksilver and Lost and Billabong, all were born in Orange County, and married them with interior designers and created these really cool concepts. And to this day, that was 2008, the rooms are still there. And it was such a remarkable thing because they were able to jack up the prices a little bit for the good suites, and people really got a good touch and feel of living the California dream.
Well, Chris,
here
you guys did also, like, I remember doing, and I was involved on it on the design side, but I remember you bringing in like a dine and design event where it was still, some of this real estate, especially commercial stuff, was suffering, and it was empty spaces, and it was just a creative way to do pop-ups. And then you guys did another one for the design center on Red Hill. There were a couple of events there that were kind of unique and unusual, and it provided opportunities that are not usually present for the industry,
Right.
to highlight some of these designers.
Exactly.
And, yeah, you were always very innovative in how you were putting stuff together versus just the normal, here's the boilerplate approach of doing
I
it.
think we should also talk not just about Orange County. How many publications are you in charge of now? You have of course, it's Modern Luxury. The whole.
So I was at Modern Luxury. I was at Modern Luxury for 22 years, and under the Modern Luxury umbrella, there's 23 markets and magazines. I oversaw the Southern California division, and then recently I came on board with Los Angeles Magazine, Orange Coast Magazine, and Pasadena Magazine. They had a new owner, Mark Garagos, who you guys may know, and Ben Meiselas bought the publications from another media company, and they brought me on board in January of 2023.
Yeah, you've
right?
been there for a year.
Yeah, over a year, yeah.
Yeah.
So really taking the knowledge I've had of many years, and I adore Modern Luxury and all the people that I've worked with, and now it was time to kind of take what I've learned and said, hey, here's a city model of classic magazines that have been around for many years.
Yeah.
What could I contribute? What could I do differently that I haven't done before? And we're doing a lot of really fun stuff. Like right now, we're working on a big beauty event in Los Angeles where we're incorporating Orange County beauty companies, Los Angeles. We have a beautiful host, Julianne Hough from Dancing for the Stars. She's our host of the event. And then we have an opportunity where businesses can come and they could do pop-ups. They could showcase their product through a gift box. However it is, like you
Is that
said,
natural
Rod.
beauty or is it some
Well, I'm beautiful.
some
I'm the main-
cosmetic?
Yeah, exactly. So,
And-
there's so many things we could do in
Yeah.
different categories. And I think events, and when you talk about my world of magazines, it's really just, it's not the magazine anymore. That's part of what we do. It's really being connectors in the community as far as through the print, through digital, through events, through PR, through a TV segment I do on Fox 11 every week.
Yeah.
So kind of marrying everything to get stuff like this, a podcast, what a better way to connect than with you guys right now talking about it. So that's what it's all about.
And that's why I learned from RAAD, there was this reason of the podcast, is that to talk about community and culture. And we learned so much. For me, for the last few weeks, I learned much more than I ever knew about Orange County.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about content only. It's also about conversation and, to Chris's point, connection.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I will share this with you. I don't know if you remember this, Chris, but a few years ago, I did a men's. You remember the men's
Of course.
product stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I remember reaching out to Chris and saying, look, I got this guy. He got this franchise thing, or, you know, they're going to do a pop-up. It's all men focused. You know, it's not healthcare. It's beauty product, 4 types of brushes, you know, straight razors, all this stuff, you know, or guy stuff, right? And it was very unique and it was very odd. And the thing about Chris always, when I reach out to him, and he's, by the way, thank you for always being accessible.
Of course.
No, seriously, man. I mean, there are people that in your position that would be like, who? What?
Who's that?
Who's that?
Well, when Pascal calls you or Rad calls you, you take the call.
Good, thank
Right?
you. All
Well,
right.
that's very kind.
We have some
That's
power
really very
here.
kind. Yeah, that's very kind. But I mean, I will say that Chris has always been open. Like, hey, well, what is this? Tell me about this. And then I remember we met with the guy and we sat down, we talked about it, and it was like very cool, because then this collaborative brain think tank thing was going on. And it was like, well, how can we position this towards informational for guys? So it's not just product based, but what else could you layer on this from a health and well-being component, maybe even a fashion component? Remember this? And so all of a
course I do.
sudden, this collaboration becomes a really powerful idea that has multiple possibilities to benefit everybody. And you've always been that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, connecting people is. It's funny during the pandemic, Rad. I remember when you had all those amazing masks and all those opportunities that you were having.
Yeah.
You know, and you were one of the pioneers in that. Like, you came out with it, and it
Thank
was
you.
really impressive. And you know, that was a really telling time for all of us, because I remember when it was sort of over, I would go to the supermarket. There were local Ralphs near me,
Yeah.
and I always just felt like, God, these are the frontline workers, these people that are really coming in every day and dealing with all the germ. Nobody really knew what was really happening.
Right.
So at the end, I said, I'm going to take out, you know, a bunch of the cashiers at Ralph's for drinks. And I took them all out one day, and honestly, I couldn't get over what the bill turned out to be. But I think they really just appreciated that someone said, you know what, you guys are meaningful to, you know, they did meaningful things for us. It's time to give back. And I think when you have good energy and good karma, good things happen to you.
Yeah, but you see,
You know?
you have always, and again, I'm not patting you on the back because I've known you long enough and I've watched you do this. This is just part of your DNA, okay? You take the time to stop, and you are a busy guy, you know? I mean, if you really wanted to say, well, look at my calendar. I don't have any blanks on my calendar, and whatever blanks, I fill them with other stuff. Plus, you're a good family guy, and you get time for your son and your family, and you're always open in sharing that. You know, it's like, you know, we talk about you're personable, not necessarily personal, but you get there as well sometimes. You've always been that guy that also took the time to stop and recognize that person.
Yeah.
You know, and that's saying a lot.
Well,
I mean, it's not the job title, man. That's the person.
I think
Well,
it's just
because-
how you're raised and how you know. My dad was always in sales, and we grew up in New Jersey. He worked in the city, New York City, and he sold power equipment. So I was always with him when I was little, and I would meet a lot of people, and I saw the way he interacted with people.
Yeah.
Even to this day, he's still working. He's 84, works 2 days a week in New York City.
Right.
He doesn't want to stop working. 'cause
No,
there
why
were-
would
you
he
know,
if he's like that guy?
he loves it, and
Yeah.
for him, it's not work.
It's not work.
It's life.
Right.
That's kind of how I look at it. Like, I love what I do, and it's not really work for me because I really enjoy what I do.
Right.
And every day is different.
Right.
Every day you have a meeting at a restaurant on the beach.
So I
to a
wanted to
downtown
ask you,
office.
what's an editor do?
Yeah. Well, my editor, I'm not the editor. I'm the publisher.
He's the
publisher.
publisher.
Sorry.
So the publisher, it's not like a publisher of a book where you're trying to get a book published. Publisher in our world really is kind of like the general manager of like a radio station. We're in charge of every nut and bolt that takes place to put the magazines together, and all the EBITDA, the money, the revenue, the sponsorships, the advertising. So everything molded into one. So I'm creative in my own ways with my clients, but I'm not in charge of all the local content that we write about in the magazine. That comes from my editor-in-chief in both LA, OC, and
So
Pasadena, who do all that
do
kind
you
of
have
stuff.
like a monthly meeting like we see on movie, and you get
Oh, for
all your
sure.
writers together, all your editors together,
There
and
are
say
many meetings, and
what you
we
have
talk
to offer
about
this month?
the
Yeah.
calendar, what we're going to write about, what the theme is, anything cool that's happening in town. We always like something new and exciting to write about.
yeah.
And then what we'll do is we'll figure out, do we put a celebrity on the cover? If we put a celebrity on the cover, what can we do with that celebrity? Can we have them host a dinner party? Can we do a bigger event? We had Kris Jenner on our LA Magazine March cover, Women of the Year. We had a huge event at the Fairmont in Santa Monica. We had 500 people there. We had tons of sponsors and really an elevated event for women. We had a panel of women. You may know the On family. Elizabeth On and her sister were on the panel in the culinary world. So we picked different women, and it was another great way for people to connect.
Yeah.
And on the video side, we had a little lounge for the Women of Impact where women came over, got their interview, put it on social media. Social media has been fantastic
Well,
for us.
That's
you know?
that's what makes you not avant-garde, but on time.
Right.
You have to.
Well, and you used it though. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that are just got too stuck in the way that we've done business before, that they just couldn't make the pivot and the shift. Okay, you saw that coming. You kind of lived that world a little bit yourself, and
yeah.
then to basically lead it on
Yeah.
on the publication side, it makes a lot of sense why you have been successful about it.
Yeah, but even newspaper try to do that.
Yeah,
They didn't succeed.
No, because you can't. I don't know, Chris. It seems to me like you can't put one leg in this and one leg in this, and you can't really basically pick one or the other. You got to kind of find your own new lane now. And you've been around long enough involved in this. How long have you been involved in print and print?
Almost 25 years.
Okay, so there's some been
Half my life.
major
Yeah.
major shifts and changes.
Oh, a lot
Right.
of major shifts.
Right, and you,
Right.
I was going to ask you why you're still doing it, but you kind of answered that. Well, no, you kind
But
of
you are
answered that.
successful
You
with it.
answered that question too because you're that kind of person that likes meeting people and connecting with people. So I can you'd probably be doing some version of this even if it wasn't in print in some capacity, right?
Right, of
Maybe as a
course.
whether you're a barista at Starbucks or whatever, you'd still be kind of like, "Hi, I'm the greeter," right?
course.
But do
Yeah.
you think that the push away from newspaper help you to, or you use that platform to get more
It's
Did
success?
it open-
interesting
yeah.
because some of our publications, like Los Angeles Magazine, for example, is considered a news source. So we do write about local news, what's happening in politics, sports, newsworthy items in LA, the city council, the mayor, plus layers of luxury and
Yeah.
dining and shopping. So LA, we get really everything. Good crime stories. So we are considered a news source. Orange County, we're more of a lifestyle publication because it's more of a lifestyle atmosphere here. There are some interesting stories. I mean, we did a story about a woman in Orange County who bamboozled a bunch of rich guys out of money and then lost it all in a casino in Palm Springs. She was called the Slot Whisperer.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did a big story on her. That was an Orange County base. So there's a lot of interesting stories down here, but in Orange Coast, we really tend to really go more towards luxury food. And then Pasadena is very similar to Orange County in that kind of environment where it's
Are
more
you
of a
planning to go
lifestyle.
more to news? Because maybe there's a demand, especially the younger audience. Because they don't read newspapers,
Yeah.
they don't have articles,
They go on their phones.
Yeah, and
you know-
they're not rich enough to buy a fancy car or going on a yacht, And
Yeah.
so,
It's just interesting how people read their news. And I always feel, especially in Orange County, there's always a need, and everyone loves to touch and feel a publication.
Yeah.
Whether it's Orange Coast, whether it's our Riviera publication for modern luxury, or even Architectural Digest. Or I always felt like it was a little bit different here.
That tactile.
Yeah, very different. And the interesting thing for us is that we're a subscription-based company, so people subscribe.
so your publication
get the
are not
magazines.
available on the rack.
Yeah, we're also in. But the other great thing that happened is we're actually Los Angeles Magazine is nationwide. We have a deal with Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
where you could pick up LA Magazine in New York City and Miami and Boston. So now we kind of become this kind of national publication. You know, even though we're LA, because people love the brand of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
even though LA and OC are so different.
Can we make
And-
the Orange County
Yeah, we
become
could
a,
do that too.
Yeah.
So why? So actually, I was going to ask the same kind of question. Is so where? I mean, and you have a lot of time on the ground in Orange County, right? I love the fact that you're still involved, right? And obviously because of the magazine, right? Where do you see, from your perspective, Chris, where Orange County has potential, but it hasn't tapped into it? Because
Yeah.
it seems to me like there's a lot of potential, but I don't know why we still haven't tapped into it. And you know, we don't have really a news channel anymore. We don't really have some of those core things. But even just in general, is it just that we're basically this bubble that's comfortable being in the space that it is? What is it?
Yeah, is it
the
from
bubble-
outside that we look out to Los Angeles, or Los Angeles is
Well,
looking
you know, it's
at us?
interesting. I was at a coffee shop in CDM last week, and I brought a stack of, because I take magazines wherever I go. I always have them with me. I have a stack of Orange Coast, I had a stack of LA Mag, and a stack of Pasadena. And the gal who ran it said, I only want Orange Coast. This is what nobody cares about LA. So it's interesting when you hear that, because Los Angeles is literally an hour away, right? So it's not so far, but there's also this perception that we're here in Orange County. And then there's also a lot of people that feel like there's a lot of crime coming into Orange County from LA. So you have a whole different political side of everything with crime and all that happening. So I don't know what it is, but I always feel like Orange County is like a small town. It's like a hometown. And I always loved it because it's easy to get around. You don't have to pay for valet and parking. It's easy to go into a supermarket. Even Pascal, going to your location, you don't have to valet half the time. You
Right.
get a spot, you're there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really a leisure type environment here. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful place.
It's a little bit more laid back.
Yeah, very laid back. And it was funny because I remember when I moved down here in 2008, it was like paradise. It really was. I couldn't believe how great it was. Then when I had the opportunity to take over the publications, I went back to LA. Probably the only people who moved back to LA after living in Orange County. But, you know, with a kid, you know, everyone moves down here for the schools. But in hindsight, it was great because my son had the exposure of everything,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's
I don't
really
go to LA anymore because we don't have to.
you know, you have everything here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You got the Segerstrom Center for the Arts. You've got great museums. I mean, even the restaurants are phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's fantastic.
We need better jazz, but we're working on that.
Well, we're working on
What do you mean? You got the
jazz side.
Drake.
No, no,
and
no,
the
no,
Goon.
no,
Oh,
no,
we
no.
talk about
We
that
need
all
more,
the time.
more jazz.
We,
Okay.
we
We'll
love the
We need a lot more jazz.
We love the
yeah,
Drake.
yeah.
We love the Drake, but
he's
we want
being
something
sarcastic a little
larger, bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
vibrato in LA. You need some bigger
Yeah,
venues for jazz. I
exactly.
hear you. I hear you. But it's great.
Maybe we can do it together.
We'll fill you in later.
I want to hear about
Yeah,
this
yeah,
because
we're-
I love
we're-
jazz.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
like, what? No, come on.
You on?
Yeah, we're on.
Let's
We're
just
on.
Let's go to the
say that
jazz.
if a 30-seat restaurant roughly can make a go of it in the outside the main drag of Laguna, there's some potential in this county.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had the food at
Yeah.
the Drake? Alex,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Alex,
I
the
wrote
father
a-
and son chef. Those guys are
Yeah,
great.
I wrote a report from the Drake from
Yeah.
my last visit. Actually, I was there with Gretchen.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so she
I
loves
thought the
jazz
food
too.
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's got a great energy in there.
Yeah, music,
you know?
the space, the whole thing.
Paul,
is really
the chef, who was at Bistango before on Bayside, he's amazing. So
Bayside is still there,
Oh, yeah.
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
and they have live
Bistango
music.
is not there anymore, correct? Or is it?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was back.
I think it's back. Yeah, but Bayside, that still have live guitar
Yeah, yeah, they
singer
have live
every
music.
night.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
and-
But again, so yeah, you kind of answered the question. I mean, I think it's just Orange County is kind of comfortable being in the space that it is, and it's slowly getting a bit more sophisticated in a way, if you will, by more offerings, like you say with the.
we
Secret
still
Center.
think that maybe we are more educated, Orange
Yes.
County, more sophisticated, and that's what we try to do. So talk about the culture, the history of Orange County, and talk about bringing the museums, and maybe you can have a little thing in one of your publications about museum in Orange County, so people can learn things they don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what we were kind of trying to do, Chris. Is I think there's so many layers in Orange County.
Yep.
In fact, the whole of Southern California is kind of an interesting dynamic because there's not really a center. like LA has sort of a multiple centers, right? Orange County is not really a center. And so I remember working with a nonprofit called the California Historical Preservation Foundation or something, and they were doing a conference, and they were thinking they had never done a conference other than in a city. Right, and they were like, "We're going to do a conference in Orange County, but we don't know how to go about it because there was no comment like, where do we center it? Where do we
Right.
focus it? What are the things?" And we actually found out that there was actually a connective tissue, which was the railroad system, the old railroad system,
Oh,
and then the
okay.
farming and agricultural component. And all of a sudden, there was sort of a program possibility that was out of the ordinary. And then, what Pascal's talking about, like with the Mission Viejo Museum, there are layers that are sort of not known. Right, like if you didn't know that Pascal's location back on Bristol back in the day,
Right.
you wouldn't know that was part of the culture of Orange County and the development of the culinary experience. There's
Absolutely.
we're trying to expose some of that just for added depth, if you will.
You know what's fascinating though? I mean, take the two shopping cultural destinations of South Coast Plaza
Fashion
and
Island.
Fashion Island, right? So a lot of these luxury brands, I always find this fascinating. You look at an ad for Cartier in a, let's say, Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
They'll tag all the big cities, but they'll tag New York, Miami, Paris, South Coast Plaza.
Yeah.
So it's interesting where South Coast Plaza
Specific
kind of has this
location.
luxury kind of name to it. And one thing I really miss about Orange County is I love how South Coast Plaza especially do such wonderful things for the community.
Yeah.
And I think the Sagerstrom family are remarkable for everything they do. I was just in the Chalk Follies with Sandy Sagerstrom. They had their final year. And interestingly enough, Gloria Zigner, who was one of our society writers for Orange Coast, she passed away last year. And they had the final
She was
show.
so active.
And she was always every year, even though I was working for the competitor, she would always say, "I want you in the Chalk Follies," and I would always
never
make up
did?
an excuse. I'm busy.
I was
So
in
then this
one
year,
year.
oh,
I
you did it too?
Yeah.
So Sandy Sagerstrom had reached out and said, "Look, it would mean a lot to us if." So I did do it, and it was kind of fun, and it was great to see all these wonderful people of Orange County taking things like to another level.
That was a
you
big
know?
job because we had to practice.
Oh, it was a lot of
every
work. I had a
week.
cameo role. I had, I didn't have my tap shoes on. I wasn't there every week, but I mean, there were some pretty impressive people that were part of that. But again, it's just something that resonated through our community.
Yeah.
And I
But
think
it
it's
was good
remarkable.
workout. We lost weight doing all this
Yeah,
practice.
yeah. And then also,
Many.
we're bringing entertainment here at the Newport
Sure,
Beach Film
sure,
Festival
sure.
at Fashion Island. I mean, that's huge. And we're getting people like Kevin Costner and big names are coming down to the OC. And I think it's a great. And then the new Restoration Hardware at Fashion Island is going to be
that'd be huge,
unbelievable. I mean, what's going on over there. And the restaurants, I mean, Steak 48's opening
Yep.
up. I mean, I'm a meatball guy. They have the best
Is
meatballs.
that the new Mastro's?
It's a new it's the Mastros. They opened up in Beverly Hills.
Right.
They're coming down here,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of synergy there.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. And I think people are also from your world. Dining is taking on a new
Totally.
definition. Like people want an experience. I mean, even like Joey in Fashion Island, that lounge outdoor patio is beautiful.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
even the ethnic restaurants.
Yeah.
And that's why I do reports when I go out. Are becoming more authentic. They don't want to do just California cuisine. They just want to bring their own natural.
They're all. It's
experience.
almost like a modern interpretation on their ethnic or the origins of their food experience. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because now it's also not even just centered in like the Newport, Costa Mesa kind of area. You got Anaheim looking at the OC vibe. You got Anaheim looking at possibly tying in Brookhurst, where it's like a cultural corridor with Golden Grove and Westminster,
Yep.
and on all that ethnic experience as far as food.
All the Middle Eastern.
Yeah, it's a
places,
very
yeah.
it's a very interesting time, and I guess we've all been around long enough that I just wanted to ask you, like, from your perspective, what excites you, given your field, like as far as like print or publications or lifestyle magazines? What excites you going forward? What do you see like as, whoa, I'm so excited about this?
What's happening? You mean
Yeah.
what's happening in our industry?
Yeah,
that's
what's happening in your
exciting?
industry and where it could like.
I mean, it's interesting. I feel like one thing that I love about what we have is that we actually own a restaurant for LA Magazine our owner has Engine 28, which is a classic restaurant in downtown LA, and we utilize that restaurant for different experiences. We brought in a lot of culinary chefs. We brought in Giada De Laurentiis. We brought in Rocco DiSpirito to do these, again, connecting the community through something we did in the magazine, bring it to life. So, and also we have the opportunity to put a billboard on our building too. So I feel like, again, what excites me is that it's endless. There's so many things we could do, no matter what. And I always find something to do with anybody. Whether you own a gas station and you're a business owner, we can make you a man of merit. If you're a female that is starting off in this world, we could find something for you. So I always love to just find something for everybody.
That is
that's
one of
really
your
what-
superpowers,
that's what
my
we love to
friend.
do.
You really, that,
Yeah.
I know that about you.
Yeah, because you have a great audience, and you can sell. Now you.
Are you going to buy an ad from me by the end of the day?
I think Paul's going to buy an ad at the end of the day.
I think so.
Yeah, no,
Well, you guys should come. We have our Best of OC event happening July 25th at South Coast Plaza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything food, everything we love about OC. I mean, it'll all be rolled into one. You can really get an experience of
You
what,
don't want
what
to
we're
tell
all
us
about.
who's the best new restaurant yet.
Yeah. Well, you'll stay tuned for
you'll
that
find
one.
out.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. He is that way, right? But there's not. It's not just the sales. Okay. The thing about Chris that always basically just makes me smile is the guy is genuine. There's an authenticity to him.
Are there violins?
No,
Where's your
seriously,
violin?
Wow.
Back.
seriously. Look, I've known you long enough. I'm not
we
going to
were
blow
sweet.
smoke up your, you know what,
at least
right?
at least we think he is.
No. Look. Here's the thing, right? I mean, I used to tell people we put people on the show, and they're the politicians, and they're here for an hour, and I said, look, you can bullshit. Excuse my French, but I think I can do that on the show. You can bullshit a person over a 3-minute answer to a question about something. If you're sitting down with me for an hour, you are not going to be able to
That's
pull
all
off
I
bullshit
did.
for 30
That's all you
seconds.
were, yeah.
Right?
No way.
I've known him long enough to know that this is the guy.
That's
This
who he
is
is.
the mental. Like you cut through. That's who he is.
That's why you're here, because I want to know the man behind all this.
Well, Pascal, we have a funny story. I remember a good friend of mine, David Hinman, won an auction item at our school, the Pegasus School, and you donated dinner for 12 or 15 at your home, and Pascal comes and cooks for you. So my friend won it, and he invited me over, and he had 2 people at the head, tables, people sitting on each side, and I sat next to him at the head. And he couldn't believe, he thought he loved it, that I had the balls to
Yeah.
be the guy to sit with him with
Yeah.
I had a white jacket on. It was a white party too. Everyone was dressed in white. And Pascal was there, and he did such a remarkable job. Again, you're a connector in the community. You brought everybody together, and you do it by your personality, your awesome food, and your personality. I mean, you got it going on too.
That's just like you.
You know?
It's our goal to make people interested to what we do. And like here, I hope we have a young audience too, because I want to see maybe some students in UCI who want to go in the publication business or in the writer business. You can plant some seed.
I'd love to. It's funny. I was a guest lecturer at UCLA about print advertising. Was the subject, and I went in. My first question to these students were, "When's the last time you picked up a magazine?" And nobody raised their hand. Right. By the end of it, I went through the whole, exactly what we do. Everybody wanted a subscription to the magazine at the end of it. So and you're right, educating the younger generation onto what we do, and we're the leaders. Like, we need the next generation of people like us.
Because they may not grab a book, but they can grab this easy.
Right.
You guys just made me think of something. It's kind of interesting, right? I used to go into Barnes and Noble and lose myself in the magazine section when I was in design school, right? It was just like, okay, that was sort of my internet.
What
Are you
kind of
that cheap?
magazines?
No. Trust me, I bought enough
They were
design
all
books.
polybagged.
Okay,
It's like when you go on an airplane, you grab all the magazines.
not that section. Chris.
Okay.
That was after hours after I got my coffee at the upstairs Starbucks. But no, the thing that you guys just made me realize, okay, we live in a world, and if you're a kid, like if you're a little older, you maybe hopefully have the tools to filter a little bit, right? But if you're a younger person that's still kind of trying to find your compass, right? You're being inundated with so much stuff all the time, right? And if it's lifestyle or whatever, I mean, you're being bombarded on a split second, on Instagram. Having a magazine is almost like the noise is quiet now and it's
100%.
focused, right?
Yep. You're reading a magazine. You're not getting a text message popping up on the page. You're not getting a phone call. You're not. You're
Now,
focusing on this.
who the heck would have guessed that a print material becomes their escape from the noise
Right.
to where there's a bit of a focus?
It's true.
I have to tell you, like 50 years ago and more, my dad never really had chance to open a book and because he fall asleep. But he always had the most recent Reader's Digest next to him. And that's a little bit like this. You know, you have a kind of concentrated stories in 2 pages instead of have to read a book. And you learn a lot from that. You know, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing because I hadn't really put one and one together, but that is exactly the case. Like you pick up a print material, whether it's let's say it's a book, like a fiction book or whatever you're going to read, or a magazine, and the magazine has enough variety in it that's going to pull on some of the things that are of interest to you. But exactly, there's no pop-up thing coming in front of me. I mean, if I'm going to the magazine's digital portal, I'm going to get more of that. But if I'm actually putting a printed material in my hand, being quiet with a cup of coffee, sitting off to the side,
Even
I'm
on
kind of
TV
giving
now,
myself a little bit of an escape, almost like a little sanctuary.
even on TV now, when you have the most important scene of your movie, boom, they just shut.
Well, yeah, because they got your attention, and it's basically sell.
Exactly. It's funny. Do you remember, like, growing up, you get a subscription to magazines. The day they came was the most exciting
yeah.
day. Thursdays, I remember TV Guide was a huge deal in my house growing up. You didn't know what shows were coming up. I would literally get the TV Guide on a Thursday, and I would spend, like, I don't know how much time looking to see exactly what episode or what's happening I was going to watch. And 8 is Enough and Charlie's Angels and Dukes of Hazzard. Like,
Yeah.
It was
TV
exciting.
Guide.
Did you
To
do
see that.
the crossword?
Did the crossword puzzle. And I always found that even like Parade magazine in the newspaper was always exciting to me because you looked forward to what you were going to get.
I actually did that, Chris, with Los Angeles Magazine when I was in Marina del Rey from 1994 to 1998. And when it came in, because to your point before, it was not just a lifestyle magazine. It has always had a little bit more, a little bit of literature, a little bit of, here's what's new, here's whatever. But it was more of more all-around old-school kind of content. And I would look forward to it because when you got it, and maybe you received it on like a Thursday or a Wednesday, you knew that on that Saturday morning, you're going to sit on your balcony and you're going to lose yourself for a couple of hours just catching up with what's going on and not have anything else happening.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you're right, maybe you are now writing a book. Would it be a fiction book or a non-fiction book?
I mean, I would write a nonfiction book because I like to talk about life experiences, right? I could get into something, a made-up world, but I always like to talk about things that have happened in my life or things that I've witnessed. I think it's a lot more exciting.
Oh, I got to ask you what the working title would be. I'm sorry. He kind of posed the question. He started us down this path, dude.
Oh, God. Okay.
First thing comes to mind,
Let me
Chris.
get back to you.
No.
Well,
Come on.
I'm still
It's a
stuck
working
I'm still stuck
title.
on those meatballs at
that's
I'm more about food. I look at this guy, I think about food.
Cop
You know?
out, man.
Okay.
Just come on. Just whatever. First working title
Maybe
comes
like
to mind.
where the day takes you kind of thing. Like just like as I told you, I like to wake up in the morning and kind of see where my day takes me. And maybe that's how my book would be. Too.
Dude, that's when you got to come up with it. That's
know?
probably close to
Stream
your
of
to your
consciousness.
truth.
Maybe you can help me with my cookbook, because my cookbook, I don't want that to be a cookbook per se. I want cooking stories and stories about the life of a chef.
I love. You know what my you're
Shall we
gonna
put the
laugh.
pressure on him
It's
now?
One of my favorite cookbooks.
It's like the printed bear. You know the bear,
The movie.
Yes.
The series, yeah.
but on paper.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a cookbook written by Martin Scorsese's mother.
Wow.
Remember her? She was in the movie Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So it has all her recipes of all her Italian dishes, but then it has scenes in the movie and her perspective of those scenes. It's like it's on my night table. You got to tell a lot about somebody. What book is on your night table?
Okay, yeah.
Right? Do you have a book on your night table?
I do
Or
actually.
a magazine on your night table?
No, I have a book. I got 2 books on the night table right now. One is Endurance.
Okay.
The story about the guy and they got stranded on the ice. And the other one is actually called Purposeful Retirement.
Oh, there you go.
and
Are
it's-
you ready to retire?
Huh?
You ready to retire, Red?
Dude,
Come on.
dude, I'm like you. I'm
My
like
dad's still working
no,
at
no,
84.
no, no, no,
He's
no, no. But
planning,
that's the
you know,
whole point of.
he-
But that's
he's
the whole
already
po-
retired.
No, no,
You-
no. That's
can
the
you
whole
tell?
point of the book.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the book. Is that word is completely misleading,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And it's written by the guy, Franklin, Franklin Covey. The Franklin Covey, right? And the foreword is by Covey's son, actually, and it talks exactly about that. The thing that's funny is we use the word retirement. It starts the book with saying that the Bismarck in Germany was the first guy that basically said, "Hey, look, I think we should give money to anybody over the age of 70." Okay, which of course the life expectancy was 40, so it was a very conservative move. They was not going to give any money to anybody, right?
The French
but
want
but
to
they were
retire
almost
that-
going. He said we could have easily been calling it Bismarcked instead of retired, right?
But those-
and then there would be no, like, the word retirement is a stigma, but no, purposeful retirement.
Not for the French.
No,
they,
no.
they want to retire at 60.
Well, but if, to Chris's point, if you're doing something you love, and it's part of your truth, then you're never going to really be quote unquote retired. No, I'm not retired, but it was an interesting concept for me from somebody who's actually coming from that background, who's saying exactly the same thing we're talking about. And then the
How
endurance
can you-
one
how
is
can
this
you
interesting story because I love
retire-
history.
You have such a good lifestyle. You cannot retire from that. I know.
The rad life.
It's the rad life.
There's no word retirement in there.
No.
It's
Okay,
like- it's
I'm
kinda
not
like-
retiring from life.
It's kind of like the mafia. There's only one way out.
No, you're
No,
like
no,
you're,
no, no.
it'll be easier for you to get out of the mafia. Actually,
Why would you want to get out of the rad life?
No,
People
exactly.
tune into the rad life.
Yeah, no, it's so. But you're right. You could tell a lot about what's on people's nightstands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
Do
kind
you
of
have
like.
a TV? A lot of people don't have
I don't have a
televisions
TV in my bedroom anymore.
I mean, I would always say, God, I need a TV in my room, but now I don't even put it on half the time.
No, I don't. I
You know?
don't.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't have a TV in bedroom. I haven't had one in a long time, and part of it is just because you gotta get a sense of the need for balance. You gotta be able to shut down. You need to be able to recharge, and you can't just
You
be
know what we
constantly
do at
on,
home?
on.
Before we go to bed, we watch an episode of Frasier.
Frasier?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just
I'm listening.
Kelsey
I'm
Grammer?
listening. It's so special, you know. It's just,
Everyone has their thing, right?
yeah.
And here you are playing Frasier in your own way on the show.
There you are. Pascal, are you a dog or a cat person?
Oh, there you go.
Actually,
Careful, that's a tricky question. I know enough about you.
Or-
I just want to know.
Or one of the or something
like,
else.
I like every animals. Like
It's the most diplomatic answer I've ever
Boy.
heard.
yeah, but I like birds too.
Yeah?
And I hate the squirrel because they destroy everything, but they're cute. So you accept them.
Do you know that in Hawaii, there's not one squirrel?
What?
No, I had no
Not
idea.
one squirrel.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? Someone should just bring two over and see what happens, right?
You think we could go down to like the Shake Shack on Crystal Cove and grab a couple of those
I'm sure they'd love that.
Maybe
Yeah.
somebody eats them.
invasive species?
I was always afraid of squirrels because they literally, when they bite
Yeah.
you, I hear they stay.
Yeah.
They don't, their grip.
Here,
And they
here's a
shake.
Yeah.
here's a fascinating fact. Do you know it is against the law to harass a squirrel in San Francisco?
Ooh.
Okay.
Are we still talking about the animal, or
I don't know.
Is
I'm
there
just
a
saying there's a
special name
law
for
in the
people?
book. You can't harass squirrels.
Okay.
We used to do a show with the a legal show.
I
We used to
mean,
talk about that.
that's you never know
Never
what
go
you're
with
going to
that.
learn on this show. Honestly.
I always want to know, where do skunks go half the time? You never really see them. Where
No.
do they
But,
hibernate somewhere?
then you know when they are.
Where?
When they are somewhere, you know you can
Oh,
tell.
of
no.
course.
Yeah, this show has turned into Animal
I always,
Kingdom
liked
now,
the-
right?
I always enjoyed the smell of a skunk
This
on
is
a
like
summer
life.
night.
You
I
don't-
enjoyed it.
Okay, so for those who don't know, are you a cat or a dog person?
I'm both, but right now I'm a cat guy
Yeah.
because I've had. It was funny, a sad story. We got my son a dog when he was 3, a little Dachshund. Wound up passing away from parvo. We bought it at a pet store, and I didn't get the memo. You don't buy a dog in a pet store. But anyway, my son came home and said, "Hey, I'd love to get
That's
a cat."
that's a common problem. They die within like the
Yeah,
first
that's what I
year or
heard.
two.
Parvo and all, anyway. So my son said, "I want to get a cat." My wife's allergic to cats, but how do you say no to a little 3-4-year-old whose dog died? So we came back with this cat. I never had a cat in my life. I always really didn't like cats, And we had Fletcher Jones, his name was. My son named him after the car dealership. He was obsessed with cars.
Shout out to Fletcher Jones.
He had the
Loved
cross,
it, loved it.
he had the cross
Meow,
on his
Fletcher
head.
Jones.
He would take. My son. We spent every weekend at every car dealership in town. Fletcher Jones. They all knew him. Garth and all those guys knew Luke. Well, anyway, so the cat's
I
name was
miss
Fletcher, and he just passed away this past year, Fletcher, and it was one of the saddest things. We had him for 14 years.
Yep.
He's all my son knew.
You
So
mean
now
you mean the
the
dog?
cat?
Oh, the
cat.
cat.
Yeah, the cat. So the cat, and the problem, Pascal, was the cat was so large that if you didn't feed him, you saw pictures of him, he would bite you.
Yeah.
So this is
Wow.
a big fat
You
cat.
give him too many meatballs.
Many
He
meatballs.
was a huge.
Oh, it
cat.
is great. So now we have a new little kitten, Lady Violet, who's a little cute girl who we're really being careful with. But I'll tell you, it was easier having a kitten when you had a little kid around than having a kitten now when you're an adult, because
Yeah,
they're
cat-
kind of a pain in the butt.
Cats are like your worst customers. You know, when they're hungry and come in your restaurant, they bark at you. They're really hungry.
Well,
you
cats. I had cats. I didn't grow up with pets, and I ended up having 2 rescues cats when I went to college. And similarly, they were around for a very long time. And cats allow you to live in their house.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Like if you move, keep the cat in the house. The new owner should take the house over with the cat, right?
You're
Don't really
you're
care.
part of the
It's
house.
part of the package, a bonus.
But it's very interesting, and you get attached to them, man. I mean,
I didn't think this cat knew. At one point, we dropped him off. We went away at the vet's. And when I went to pick him up, the vet said, "We can't get this cat. This cat is so," they called him fractious, hissing and a nightmare. And they said, "We normally don't do this, but will you come back and get your cat?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm afraid of him too, if that's how he is." So I walked back, and Fletcher literally saw me, stopped hissing, got out of the cage, went on his back.
Yeah.
And I was
Pet
like,
me.
"Wow, he really knows who I am."
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know how these cats
Yeah,
have no
they do.
facial, they
They
don't do
smell
anything.
you, they know.
But he really knew who I was, so
Yeah.
it was
But,
kind of changed it.
I miss my dog. Our dog passed away a couple of years ago. We had it for 15 years, and
Oh,
it's like a kid.
yeah.
Cats is different. Cats, they always stay on their own, and very different character. It's a different animal, I would say. And but I love cat too, but you don't get as much as a dog, you know.
Paul, don't leave me feeling left out. What are you, a cat or a dog?
Yeah, tell us, Paul.
I
Yeah.
grew up in a cat house.
But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to call the show now. That's a good place to break it. But Chris, thanks for being around, man, and thanks for always
Oh,
doing
thank
what
you
you do
guys.
the way you do it.
Oh,
It's
quickly,
really
I think
great.
you have a
Yeah.
big events too.
Oh.
After
Plug
the
the
best
event.
of,
Yeah.
We've got our Best of OC.
Yeah.
We have a big event we're doing at the Paramount Studios this weekend with the Concern Foundation. This event started on Rodeo Drive back in the day. Tons of chefs. One of my favorite vendors there is Pink's Hot Dogs. I'm a hot dog guy,
Oh,
too.
Pink's,
hot
yeah.
dogs or meatballs, and I'm a happy guy. Yeah, and then we've got, our big food event for LA is in November.
Yeah.
And then Orange County, we do a big whiskey festival. So stay tuned for that.
When is that?
That's
Whiskey?
in November.
Oh,
but
come
you win
on.
on whiskey?
Yeah, I'm into.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
fill
Irish.
you in on that.
All right.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
lots going on.
And I will tell you off the air, but I might have a brand for you that you may want to carry.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. And then this month, Tyler Florence is on the cover. He's hosting Relish, which a dear friend of mine, Jamie Gwen, who you know in the foodie world, is putting together this 3-day culinary experience at Vea happening in the end of August. So Tyler's going to be there. He's presenting a great meal, and there's going to be all sorts of activations happening. There's Orange Coast is a big part
There
of
you
that.
go.
But we're celebrating 50 years in Orange County.
Congratulations,
County.
Orange
That's
Coast
pretty
Magazine.
exciting.
Yeah,
Bob
absolutely.
Guccione had a great idea back in the day when he started the magazine. Ruth Coe brought it. We got Linda Goldstein, all these great people. And I'm
Love to
thrilled
see
be a
Tina
part of
back
it.
on there, man. It's just
Oh,
funny
she's
how
a gem.
life is a circle.
Yeah,
Really
she's
is.
a gem.
Yeah.
We love Tina.
Chris, tell people a little bit more of the details about the thing that you mentioned that's coming up just now, the Orange County thing.
Oh, the Best of OC?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on. So go to our Instagram at Orange Coast Magazine. I think it's at Orange Coast Mag. I don't know the Instagram.
Don't
I
look
should
at me,
know that.
man. It's your
I'm looking at you.
It's your magazine.
Orange Coast Magazine. And basically, you can get tickets, and it's at South Coast Plaza on July 25th. It's going to be a night to remember, and everything we love about Orange County will be rolled into one spectacular evening. Again, connecting the community is what we do best, and this event is going to be all about connecting, eating, talking, everything I love to do.
Yeah, so get your tickets. Come talk to Chris.
Thank you,
Yes.
Chris.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for coming.
What a
Thanks,
fun
buddy.
experience with you two. Thanks for coming back early for this.
Always,
Brad.
yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Now he's going back.
Ah,
Yeah, now
he's going
I'm
back.
flying out now.
Yeah, he's done.
Welcome to Talking Hope, breakthrough conversations about preventing, treating, and curing cancer. Brought to you by City of Hope, an NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center. Hope lives here in Orange County.